Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter World, and today we're going to be talking about Tempered Deviljho, which is one of the game's biggest challenges to date, and as such, a lot of people are trying to kill him, a lot of people are trying to actively farm him because his rewards are actually worth it, because he actually drops quite a bit of warrior streamstones. As a matter of fact, sometimes even hero streamstones. He just seems to have a higher chance than most other things in the game to drop those streamstones that everybody is hunting for, because let's face it, we all want to augment our weapons. I know for a fact that even with 600 something hours played, I'm still lacking on a lot of streamstones. Like seriously, Capcom, where the hell are my warrior lance streamstones? Because I desperately need them. But anyway, before the Spring Blossom event hit, if you guys remember, I created a build for you guys, which was called the Heartbreaker build. That particular build was a build that I intended to use to farm the Tempered Deviljho. And I gotta tell you, in my opinion, it is one of my most efficient builds to date. And that's why I wanted to do this particular video, telling you guys about that build and why it works so well. So you guys can see in the footage in the background that I'm going to be fighting Deviljho on this particular attempt. I will let the attempt play out all the way, but this took me about 11 something minutes. I believe I can even shave off a couple of minutes because I did do a couple of mistakes in that fight, but I was still practicing along with it, and ultimately the point of this build is that you are constantly regenerating, so you very rarely will actually have to use health potions. And as such, basically what happens is you can constantly be on the offensive and you can constantly be attacking, which is important because he does have a couple of tweaked stats. He seems to have way more health than his regular counterpart, which is not something that usually happens with tempered monsters. Now again, I'm not 100% sure on this, but most people that I've spoken to seem to agree that he does feel like he has more hit points than his normal counterpart, because even dealing the same damage, he still usually takes longer to kill. So that's why I wanted to have this build, because previously we had the Iron Man build that I did, which is a build that allowed you to make all kinds of mistakes during this fight and still survive. This build is not as lenient as the Iron Man build because it doesn't focus as much on defense. Instead, it focuses on survival through attack. And what that means is so long as you're able to land your attacks, you should be able to survive because you're going to be healing off of your own attacks. So there's going to be links on the top right hand side. We're going to use the YouTube card features, which will link you to two of my builds at least. So for the Heartbreaker, as well as Pillar of Gluttony, which is a build that I also believe is going to be very viable in terms of defeating Deviljho. And if you're really struggling with it, I'm also going to put the Iron Man build on there so that you guys can really just have at least 3 builds that you can use. Now, you can kind of change the weapons around on some of these, but I gotta tell you, in my opinion, Heartbreaker works really well with a gun lance because of the shelling damage and because of the fact that it only takes those 3 points of artillery to really get that shelling damage out there. I mean, naturally, I also have capacity boost using Dodogama Greaves, and capacity boost also increases that damage even more. So if you can just really make that Heartbreaker build and get used to using a gun lance, I can tell you guys that that fight becomes a whole lot simpler. Now, as the event progresses, I'm going to be using, I'm going to try to develop a couple of different builds with different weapons, so just in case you guys aren't comfortable with gun lance or lance, I'm going to try to get something that works for your weapon. Now, you can adapt the Heartbreaker build, and I've received a lot of requests of people telling me, Rurikhan, can I do this with a greatsword? Can I do this with this other weapon and with this other? And it's like, look, you can. You're not going to get as good results as the gun lance, which is why I said, okay, you can change these things around and use a different weapon, but most likely it's not going to be as good. I've been testing it myself, changing a couple of things around. It's like, to me, gun lance still reigns supreme when it comes to fighting him off. Now, another thing, very important thing, keep in mind that you should bring Mega Demon Drug as well as Mega Armor Skin, or just regular ones. Just reapply them as they run out, because it's going to increase both your defense as well as your offensive power. You're going to need as much of it as you can get. So remember, bring your consumables. The other thing is always have flash pods equipped. And I know that I repeated that one quite a few times. That's because even I tend to forget about that stuff a lot of times. And then suddenly Deviljho grabs you throws you into the ground, and then you're like, well, I guess I'll just sit here and die, because that's pretty much how that attack works. Sometimes you might survive it, sometimes you might be able to wiggle out of it, but the only way to guarantee that you're going to survive Deviljho's grab, which he does after he does that massive stomp, is you're either running a shield up gem, which I'm not in my build, and you're able to block that attack, or you are running with the flash pods equipped. And it's super easy, just point the flash pods downward. I'm sure you will see throughout this attempt that you will see me use that whenever he happens to grab me. That is a super solid way of doing it. Another important thing is, if you are still struggling, make sure to bring pitfall traps as well as materials to craft pitfall traps, because he stays in pitfall traps for quite a long time. So if you've just been using regular paralysis trap, make sure to learn how to craft the pitfall trap and bring those, and bring materials to craft 2 more so that you can apply those at different points through the hunt. Now just remember, once he falls into a pitfall trap, you want to stand behind him, because if you stand in front of him, he's going to attack you, he's going to wiggle, he's going to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So stand behind him when he is in a pitfall trap, and then just dish out some damage on top of him and go about your business. The other thing that is important is bring enough materials to capture him. There is virtually no reason to kill the Tempered Deviljho unless you actually just want to kill him for the sake of that, but even then, kill him once and then just capture him all of the other times, because basically it makes the hunt go by faster. There's less chance of you making mistakes, and you can also use, potentially, depending on which set you're using, if you're using the Heartbreaker, you're probably not going to be able to bring that stuff, but if you're not using Heartbreaker, if you're comfortable enough to kill the Tempered Pickle, remember that there's also the Kieran set bonus that you might get, which gives you additional rewards for capturing. Basically, there's a bunch of set bonuses that give you additional bonuses for capturing or for completing the missions. So if you are comfortable enough, consider those. But either way, make sure that you bring materials for the capture, because you shouldn't be hunting him for his materials. Therefore, you don't need his carves. What you need is the rewards at the end of the quest. The stream stones. That's the really important stuff. So there isn't really that much use in you killing him and carving him up. If you want to do that, just kill the regular version, because it is a lot easier. Okay? And finally, remember something. Whether you are using the Iron Man build, the Heartbreaker build, the Pillar of Gluttony build, or one of your own builds to face off against a Tempered Deviljho, something that is definitely going to help you out is fully augmenting your armor, okay? Make sure to augment your armor, upgrade it to its maximum level, because you're going to need all the defense that you can get. And speaking of defense, whenever he slobbers on top of you, whenever he so much as touches you with his head, and if he's drooling, that is going to inflict defense down, which always happens whenever he grabs you and bites you in the middle of the air. He's going to inflict you with defense down. That means you have lower defense. That means, considering that he already deals massive amounts of damage, even if you have high defense, once you get that lower defense, you're going to take even more damage. So consider bringing yourself an adamant seed, because that is going to allow you to counteract that. So use that adamant seed to counteract whenever you get that defense down, and get yourself right back into the fight. And after you apply these tips, use these builds or anything else, it is like any other boss fight that you fought before. It's all about practice until it becomes second nature, until you can actually know all of the moves that he does, and you can kind of anticipate how to dodge them. You will have to learn how to recognize his little wheezing sound right before the dragon breath comes along. You're going to have to learn how long it takes you to go ahead and dodge behind that, or block behind that, or run in front of him to prevent actually getting hit by the dragon breath, because that thing also deals a lot of damage. You're going to have to learn when you're going to be able to hit him in order to knock him down, which I can't even do sometimes, because he just has insane recovery times. You're going to have to learn his insane recovery times. It's very much a patience fight. You cannot go in just like balls out. You're going to have to take your time. Also, one minor change that I've done to the Heartbreaker build, you guys will notice in this video, is that I actually replaced the Tenderizer Jewel for a Sharp Jewel, because that allows me to stay in blue sharpness more, a little bit longer. So I kind of went with that, but again, it works either way. If you use the Tenderizer Jewel or if you use the Sharp Jewel, it's completely up to you. But yeah, those are pretty much most of the tips that I can give you when it comes to facing off against the Tempered Deviljho. He's a pretty serious challenge. Let me know if you guys have any specific questions in terms of that. I'm going to try and bring you guys some more builds that can deal with the Tempered Deviljho. For now, you have 3 builds available to you. I suggest you use one of those builds. And remember, you are going to need quite a bit of Zenny in order to augment that armor. So you might also want to watch the Spring Blossom events video, because I will tell you which events grant you the most Zenny in order to get your armors augmented. As a matter of fact, I might just do a whole video on that. But thank you guys very much for watching. Leave me all your comments, feedback in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe, hit that bell icon if you guys want to receive all of my content. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.